Okay, we are also recording now. So I just want to say a little bit about you and our connection and our friendship. I don't really recall when we met. I want to say it was somewhere around 2003. It was early 2000s. It's been a while.
Each other a long time.
Something like that. And I have relied on you for advising and coaching. And when I tell people about you, I tell them you are a gifted coach and healer, and that you've been coaching since before everybody was coaching.
I have been.
That's another thing that I say about you. And we were chatting the other day, maybe yesterday, and you were saying, you know, I work from home. So now y'all are just living like I live. And I thought, let's do a Facebook Live and talk about staying sane while working from home.
This is my favorite thing to do, because I realized, I'm like, oh, you guys are all, I had a client call me and she's like, how do you do this? And I'm like, I don't know. What do I really do? So there's certain things I would highly recommend during this time, which is get up every day, take your shower, do your hair, and get dressed. And I would also recommend not doing too many loungy clothes too much, because what happens to your energy when you don't put your lipstick on and when you don't do your hair is that you feel frumpy, and then that sort of goes with the whole day. So go ahead.
Okay.
So I would just recommend, even if you're not getting uber dressed up or something, put lip gloss on, make sure you brush your hair, take your shower, whatever your sort of morning before you go to work ritual is, please do that.
Okay.
Don't stop that process, and it really helps the day. Another thing I recommend is having sort of a list that you keep. Like I keep a old school, high school notebook.
Okay. Can I pause you before you talk about the list? And then we can talk about lists, because I make lists like day, night, like I think of something, I have to throw it onto a list, otherwise it's going to disappear. But I thought of you when you told me that the other day when I got up this morning and, you know, it was time to do my hair. Normally I do my hair Sunday and Wednesday, but my week was different. So it got all the way to today. I did it Monday. And then I went to today, like twice a week, hair wash. And so I thought about you, you know, makeup and put on something. But I also thought about the fact that nobody can see that I'm wearing my Ugg boots, which I would never wear to the office, which I have on right now. So I'll keep that in mind. I will keep that in mind.
Well, okay, there's something about that I love. So you can have a little bit of rebel that sort of recommends what's happening, kind of expresses what's happening right now. I had a client of mine, which is one of my favorite stories ever, and he worked for Nestle, and he was the vice president, and there was rules. You had to wear suits, you had to wear ties. So he had the craziest array of underwear you could possibly imagine. And he would wear crazy underwear. He's like, I have to feel like myself underneath all of this uniform stuff. So
all right,
I highly recommend, you know, there's a little bit of, you would never wear your Ugg boots. Go with that. I mean, there are certain things. I don't wear shoes a lot, because I'm at home a lot. So I have an array of crazy socks, because, you know, I wear socks here and you never see them. Some days I think I should take pictures of them because they're so funny. Right now I have some with llamas on them, and they're furry.
Yeah, my son and I have that. We have like a little collection of crazy socks. And if I want to cheer him up, I get him a pair of crazy socks. I'll be at CVS and I'll be getting whatever I need there. And they always have a nice display of crazy socks. I'm like, okay, all right, good. Got it.
So that is something that I absolutely think you should do, because it sort of acknowledges where we are in the time.
Ah, yes, indeed. Okay, perfect. Okay, lists.
So one of the things about lists that I want to caution you on, I mean, I know you're a big list person. Yeah. I'm a list person. I keep things written down, mostly because you're not doing your work, or if you are doing your at-home work, you want to sort of separate your lists, which is your work time, which is, you know, I have to get these 3 emails to this person, and I have to do this and that. And then you have your list that you're, oh yeah, I need to clean the bathroom, or have so-and-so come, or whatever all that process is. 2 lists so that you can sort of delineate between your work time and your life time, and then the normal, you know, got to get the laundry done time.
Okay.
Because one of the things that's really important, I always call it, it's time to close the computer, close the list,
Mm.
sort of be done with your work time.
Wow. Okay.
Otherwise, it just bleeds all over the place. You're doing something at 9 o'clock at night, you're doing something at 2 in the morning, and
Yes.
it took me a long time to learn. Now I'm literally watching TV, and I like to draw while I watch TV. So I'm drawing, and in that way, I'm not always in work mode.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's really good, because I think that's the reason that it is that I'm exhausted. Because
Right?
I mean, it's like I'm mentally exhausted. I'm getting enough sleep, because I talk about this with patients and in my writings constantly. And for me, it's just a deal breaker getting enough sleep. So I'm resting, I'm going to sleep, but my mind is going. It's very tough to draw that line. So are you saying that takes practice? Like, not
It takes practice, and you just sort of have to have your transition time where you say, now I'm not working anymore.
okay.
Like I can take care of that in the morning.
Yeah.
Now, if you get a little monkey mind, which I joke about all the time, like you forgot something, then go back to your work list, write it down, and close it again.
Okay.
Have the separateness of it. So
Yeah.
then that way you don't get a little bit monkey mind
Yeah.
all the time, especially because you don't really have, I mean, in your case, you have a delineated space where you can go, but then your son is doing his food. So it's almost a practice of saying, now my work is done.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
help.
That's easy when you're going to a workplace, right?
Right. But
That,
when you're not, you have to sort of almost just use a physical thing, like if you close the notebook or even turn the computer off.
okay. Okay.
The
I did that.
very
Okay.
beginning, I
Yeah.
used to literally walk out the door and come back in the door.
All right. That's kind of a
I
bad
mean, if you need to be really strict, that's something you could do too.
I think that's a great idea, especially why we're under stay-at-home order. Is walk outside for a moment, get a little fresh air, take a deep breath, and then walk back in. I'm definitely going to do that. I did that yesterday, but it's always helpful to have you kind of delineate it, kind of draw it out, and that is to say that what I did is on my laptop, I actually closed up um, my email app.
That's a good way to do it too. Anything that sort of creates a delineation between, I mean, obviously a lot of us are going on Facebook. A lot of us are doing other kind of social media things to stay connected. So it's definitely even a great idea. Shut the work email off and then leave it off for the day. I mean, I know you get copious amounts of emails, so that sort of like talks to you a lot. And a
Exactly.
way to quiet it down is to shut it off.
Exactly. When the app is open on my laptop, it I get the little red circle, the little notification that a new email has come in. And they're like, oh, another email, or maybe someone replied. So I actually have quit out of the app in order to not see when, that way I don't go back to email until I am back to working on email.
Right, exactly.
Okay, cool. All right. Didn't even know.
Those delineations are really good. I want to stress this because I know it relates to sleeping. One of the things that I'm just don't even realize that I do is every couple of hours when I'm in the email zone or doing this or doing that, I always get up and move around a bit.
Okay.
So if you can focus a little bit of time, like after 2 hours of working, you get up and do some stretching. I mean, I know when you work in an office situation, but surprisingly enough, every office situation, usually after from 9 to 12, you're going for lunch. You move again, even naturally. You don't think about how you can just kind of get into a cycle of that. So if you sort of take those breaks every couple of hours, you do some stretching. You have, I don't know what are the rules about going outside with you in your area? You can't go outside at all, or?
We can. We're not supposed to leave our house unless it's for something necessary, like grocery store, pharmacy, something like that. So yeah.
Okay.
That's what we're supposed to be doing right now. And it's a challenge. It's tough.
So I think it's just definitely the simplest things you learned at the gym. Side bends,
Right,
push-ups,
right.
sit-ups, or when you were in high school. Yeah,
Yeah,
twist. Just the simplest things that you can do to get your body moving because as you know, it relates to being able to sleep.
yeah. Yeah, I know that according to what I can see, the Facebook Live is not working. And anyway, we're going to be able to use this on other platforms. So let me just put this up that I know it's not working. And
It says it's recording on my side.
yes, we are recording it and I will be able to put it up. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'll post it ASAP. I'm just posting on this right here. Okay. All right, not going to worry about it. Technology, everyone's working online. We're all on our LinkedIn. We're all on our uh, Facebook. We're on all the different platforms that we're using, Zoom, which we're using. And so luckily the internet is cooperating. So good. Okay. All right, cool. So getting up periodically, moving around. My mom this morning told me that somebody sent her a set of exercises to do, like chair exercises. So I asked her to send that to me, and I'll share that out as well because that sounds really good because that's important too.
My girlfriend is a ballerina and she's doing online classes for ballet. And she's a ballerina, like she's got the most beautiful movements you've ever seen. But she's like, and do one of these. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is, but I'm going to follow the look. I thought it would be hysterical to record me doing her because she's doing it so beautifully. And I'm like, I can't even get my arm to do that. It's very fun.
You're in normal person land. Okay. All right.
So just think about the things that have you engage too, that engage with people, engage as much as you can.
Okay, good. All right. And so you do a lot, you normally work from home and you are normally mostly on the phone?
Mostly on the phone or Skype or FaceTime, or I have in-person clients too that come, but not nearly as much as I work on the phone. I'm
Oh,
probably on the phone 20 to 25 hours a week.
wow. Okay. So I was leading up to asking you, when you're reaching out to and connecting, what does that look like for you since you are, again, we're talking because your normal is what we're all now doing.
Experience.
It will be temporary, but some people will say, hey, I can do this virtual working.
So one of the things that becomes important is that you connect to your friends and you make plans. So Saturday night, I'm having a cocktail Zoom party and we're going to play Heads Up with 5 of my girlfriends.
Okay.
Which
Okay.
is this weird little app that you put the word on and then they all can talk to you and tell you what the word says.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay.
Now, this is something I made up that I would never have done, but I know that it's very important to make plans.
Okay.
So make a date with a lunch date, but you're going to do virtual lunch date.
Okay.
Or make a date with your friends, like a group chat. Right now, I'm doing a money meditation group for 5 people. So it's just finding those groups and your friends, make it up. Like send each other a joke a day.
Okay.
Or have a group where you're all saying one craft that you did. I had a group of women do crafts. You just thought the craziest pictures I've ever seen in my whole life. It was so fun though. So that's the kind of thing that I would recommend is calling your friends, making those normal dates. Because I chat on the phone so much, talking like on FaceTime or something like that isn't as, for me, as much.
Right.
But my nieces and I, over the summer, one of my nieces loved to tell stories. So I sort of write down the story.
Okay.
So now we're having this, create the story on FaceTime while they're, just because it's something that we started, in the summer that I hadn't gotten to. So that's something I'd recommend too. Little projects like that you thought that are creative or that you thought of doing, try them.
Okay. Okay. And let me ask you about that. So one of the pieces of advice that's going around the internet a lot is about getting projects done, and people are saying, what are you getting done that you've been putting off? And mine was one of my favorite. Well, first of all, we finally fixed up our home office since we.
Oh, fun. I love that.
Yeah, we've been, so right now I'm downstairs, but the goal will be like this morning, Michael put the chairs up there. So, we didn't have 2 chairs.
Love that.
Yeah, so that's important. I'm excited about that. But another just project that had been sitting where I could see it, mind you, for about 3 years was three of the containers. I had 2 that were albums and one was a box of audio CDs, music CDs. And so last weekend, when we were all starting to do the stay at home and the physical distancing, we did it. We brought, and Michael, my husband, brought in other places that we had put boxes of CDs.
You've been stashing them. I love that.
What's the downside of having a garage is you end up collecting. It's a downside. So let's see. Polly made such a gorgeous sandwich. I think I'm gonna make him. Oh, I'm gonna show it. Okay. Oh, he's letting me have a piece. Look at the sandwich that.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Yum.
He was already a good cook. But anyway, I just thought everybody ought to see that. Okay, thank you.
You have to try it.
I will try it. I'll try it when we're done.
Okay,
Thank you.
no, it's warm now.
I know. Let's see. So oh yeah, projects. Okay, how about for you? Do you end up with projects, or do you already not have these projects because you've lived in one?
No, I'm more of it. Like, so I found a puzzle that I haven't, and I love puzzling. So I did a puzzle. I thought that was so fascinating because I'm also love to listen to books on tape instead of watch television. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks. So you can put on an audiobook and do a puzzle. Like, there's just simple things that are not necessarily things. My mother said, well, are you going to start knitting again? And I'm like, no. Not knitting.
I can no longer knit. I used to knit in college, which was a lot of fun. But for me now, maybe now I should try it again now that I have readers that I like. But I get dizzy, like it's too close.
Oh, that's so funny. My mother is sewing and quilts like crazy. This is her favorite thing to do. So, I've always done art. I have a painting that I'm in the middle of doing. Because I would prefer to listen to books on tape, I have, projects that I'm going on with that I've always been doing. I did do one fun one that I hadn't done before, which is I took all the pictures of my nieces separately. And I've had them since they were babies, and then compiled a whole picture book of each of them individually. And they have a whole app on Costco. It's fabulous.
Yes, indeed.
I just load the pictures in and make funny little sayings. And it's going to take 8 weeks to get it, but I don't care. It's something that I'd never thought to do. So that's kind of fun.
That's amazing. That's a good idea. Yeah, I did see one very funny post that I could relate to, which was a mom saying that she was finally going to look through proofs from her kids' bar mitzvah photos, which was from I think it was.
Proofs? How old are they?
I'm going to say only about 3 years ago was the bar mitzvah. So,
Well, that's not so bad.
Yeah, but that's really great. That's amazing because for me personally, I only listen to audiobooks when I'm in the car. And so that's a wonderful suggestion. I love that.
That, and one of the other things that happens because living in a city, I don't have a car, so there's different things that you do. Yeah. You might miss music that you don't realize you don't listen to anymore.
Yeah.
Because you're not in a car. That was the first thing that I adjusted the most. So one of the things that you can do on iTunes is listen to radio stations. So if you have a special radio station that you can listen to, or I have to think about putting music on because sometimes I'm like, what's missing? And when I first started in a city where I didn't listen to a car, that was the thing that was missing, was radio.
Because you went from Los Angeles, where everybody spends a significant portion of their life in a car,
To
and
know.
to come down to Orange County for us to see each other sometimes when I was down there, and now you're in New York City. So that's like opposite.
That's the thing to think about if you're home, that you're not driving your car. There's little things that you might like doing that you aren't doing.
That's great.
So like make your special coffee the way they do it when you go to your barista, to Starbucks or wherever you go. Do the little special things that are part of your routine, because those are the things that we usually spend money on, things that make us happy or that make us joyous. I get up and go out to coffee sometimes. I make that coffee at home.
Okay. Okay.
So those little things that bring you joy, bringing you joy. Music is something that brings you joy. We just don't realize we only usually do it in a car.
Right. Absolutely.
In Californians or in particular, or car culture, I call it.
Yeah.
The whole thing I had to learn. Like, where do you put your lip gloss now?
Right. All these new things we have to think about. Okay. This is so good. So, I always say to you pretty much every time we have a conversation, we really should record our conversation. So
We should do this more often, Elizabeth.
okay. All right. Very good. Okay. I just had another thought related to, oh yeah, another thing that a lot of women at least do in the car is that's when they get to talk with their children.
Oh, that's such a good point.
Now, not having that ride to school and that driving time where you have them. Well, I mean, it used to be a captive audience. Now you compete with the phone a little bit, but I think that that's an opportunity at this point in time is.
So how would you do that? Like, I mean, what would be your thought about that? You're not in the car, you don't have that extra 20 minutes. They're also not going to school, which is getting that extra information in their brain with all the other issues that are going on.
Yeah, and my heart goes out to women dealing with younger kids. My kid is 19. He's home from college. He's a little bummed to be home already. He was really having a wonderful time there, but he understands. And he's, we're doing the elbow greeting and less huggy than we normally are, just in case, just because, just for now, it's just temporary.
So
And,
you're even doing that inside your home?
yeah, because, he just got home on Tuesday and okay, we figure if everybody feels good and we're all in the same house together for a good 14 days I mean, I know people are throwing around shorter periods of time. It's a little difficult. One of my sources of stress is that I feel very obliged as a doctor to recirculate good information and tamp down not so good information. And that's sort of a stressor because I haven't really had that responsibility.
Well, I always appreciate that about you because you're always well versed on, studies that aren't necessarily the best studies, that aren't really the overall picture of things. So I can understand where you're erring on the side of caution, because it makes sense to me that you would do that. And it really is because so many kids are coming home from school. I had another client who had to go get her kid from North Carolina and bring him to where they live. And I thought, oh dear, what are you going to do about your 85-year-old grandmother that lives in the house with you? And you're bringing a little petri dish home.
Right. Exactly. Well, okay, let's finish the thread about the conversations and then we can say more about the kind of more health part of it.
Perfect.
But with the conversations, I remember, okay, I'm old enough to have been at the time in her heyday, a fan of Dr. Laura on the radio.
Ages ago, I loved her.
When was that? Was it the 90s?
Gotta be the 90s.
It must have been the 90s.
She just went off of, apparently she's been on Siri for a long time. Or
Yes. Yeah, she kind of like went off of her,
normal radar and then went on to her little crazy.
We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it diplomatic.
Right.
She went off mainstream AM radio. But in any case, there was a time where she was extraordinarily popular before the internet. Okay.
Very much so.
Before everyone had internet. And she talked about working from home and being available just being available, that the advantage to, so even if you work at home and you have, okay, so right now a lot of people are getting along without extra help for their kids at home. But even if you have your kid at home and you're working from home, not that your child can interrupt at any time, you can set some boundaries, but it gives the kid a sense of closeness with you, that they have the opportunity to, maybe they're just saying hi, or maybe they just need a quick hug and then they go back out. So that's occurring to me to share out with people.
What would you suggest to deal with boredom for little ones?
Okay, I'm laughing because boredom is underappreciated.
I like that. So what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that, number one, no one ever, I know kids feel like they're going to die of boredom, but they actually don't.
Good point. Good point.
And talk about, oh my gosh, these young people, they're on social media all the time. They're on their phones all the time. They never sit still. And that is true. We're all moving away from being able to tolerate any boredom at all. And being able to tolerate boredom is, I just think it's a life skill.
Well, it's an option for actually an opening to creativity too. And what do you do with yourself? It's like is that Rorschach or the one where they did a marshmallow test? You know, it's part of that process, right? It's
Yeah.
understanding how to just be with a marshmallow and not eat it. So I like it as a concept. You know, like, it's okay that you're going to have boredom be part of this. And then also, as the working parent, to not feel guilty and jump on the bandwagon of entertaining all the time. I think that's something that happens.
When my kids were little, and this, video streaming videos, and then online and on the TV, that kind of got huge when my kids were little. And we would talk about that, and I called it, all the moms were trying to be Julie the cruise director. From those of us who are old enough to remember The Love Boat.
Okay.
Okay.
I like that.
Our job. That isn't our job. I mean, it's a little bit our job, but not hugely. And Dee, that's like another opportunity of what's going on right now, is that there are a lot of, okay, there was one I heard this morning, which a friend of ours posted somewhere, that if you think your kids are watching too much TV, put on the subtitles and turn off the volume, and now your kids are reading.
That's hysterical.
Creative. Everyone's going to get creative here.
Yeah, really. Or you could do the Spanish channels and then have the English translation, and they'd be learning a language too.
See? There you go. See, we're all getting creative. Okay, let me think of one more topic, and maybe it'll be our last topic. Maybe it won't. We'll soon find out. And that is managing what you eat.
I think that's a great question.
That's really huge. I saw a post somewhere that the freshman 15, the kids that they talk about when you go off to college and you gain 15 pounds, that it's now going to be the quarantine 15.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're used to working from home.
You do. This is actually a really good thing that I didn't realize I do. This is really weird. I didn't realize it until I thought, oh, I do that all the time. Because one of my friends like, I'm eating all the Doritos. And I'm like, why? Like, in my mind, it just didn't even dawn on me. Okay. So I do, it goes back to that routine in the morning, whatever your morning routine is, right? So whatever that used to, do your breakfast. That's an important part of, then that way the chips and the cookies or whatever the things that 11 o'clock usually calls to you that you wait for lunch because you're at your desk or you're waiting for lunch, won't call you if you do your breakfast. Now, usually at your desk, do you have like an 11 o'clock snack? Usually, do you?
I normally have a cup of coffee around 10:30, 11, because I can keep going. Like if I'm doing a phone appointment at the office, or sometimes even if I'm sitting in person with a patient, I'll ask them, do you mind if I have a cup of coffee with me? And I'll do that. And it actually works really well from a physiologic standpoint, which we're not going to get into too much today.
But
We
I'm going to add the water here. This is going to be
Yes.
my obsessiveness, because this is when this happens to me, oddly enough, because I have a water like all the time with me. But when you're home or working at home, you're not used to sort of having the water. So it takes a little bit of a trick to remember to have your bottle of water by your desk at your home office. Like, it's a little bit of a odd one. Be careful though, because I have spilt my water on my computer. So beware of
Yes.
hand gestures and talking on the phone now. That's a good idea to travel mug like that.
I do this because if I get through 4 of these in a day, I've had my 8 glasses.
Oh, that's a smart way to do it. Like, remember those little things that you do to remind yourself to get your natural things. And my thing is, don't snack. Like, when you're snacking, like my worst snacking time is at night. And
Yes.
I make sure I have things to snack on that are healthy. So just have your carrots, have your celery, have the things that are healthy. You have to be prepared.
Okay.
You know, like, I have my vegetables. I have all the, like, I noticed in my refrigerator, I'm like, I have all these vegetables. Well, that's because I always have all these vegetables. But I always have like peanut butter and celery available at 3 o'clock, you know, for that 3 o'clock low
Okay.
happens like that, because that's when I get hungry again. I also will have a coffee then too. That's when I'll have a decaf.
Okay. I'm writing notes because I will put them like footnotes when we send this out.
So, and then definitely have your dinner time. Like, I get hungry, oddly enough, at like 7.
Yeah. What do you mean? Why is that odd? That's normal.
Because usually people are eating earlier than or later here than
No.
that. No, you're
No.
eating around 7. Okay, so I get hungry at 7,
Okay.
but then sometimes I'm not even hungry until 9. So it depends on how my work schedule has been that day.
Yeah.
So that it pushes me to later. I happen to do exercise at night. That's
Yeah.
my thing. Instead of watching TV, I'll exercise. Like, I just not a TV person as much as I think I am. But that's been a shift in this time for me, where I would even like do a shout out to those people that do work at home, that you have to think about now, like, because I can't go to the gym in my building.
Right. Yes.
10 o'clock, everything like that is closed. So I know they're saying that you can't go outside at all. I don't think that it's bad to have a bit of a walk, but that would be my opinion.
Correct. I agree with that too. Again, I hope I'm not saying something that is directly
Again, with if they're the rules where they're
the
telling
government.
you to do what, listen to them.
Yeah. The idea is to avoid other people, and if people have the opportunity, even if it's walk up and down stairs in your house or walk around your house, do some laps around your house.
I live in an apartment building with emergency stairs, and I live on the 25th floor. And I thought, if I just did that once, I'd be fine. You know, even going down would be okay.
Yeah, that's true.
It's making me be a little creative at that nighttime point when I'm like, I got to get out of the house. I've been in the house all day. I've worked all day. But so just a little fresh air. I mean, I think it's an important part of this process, or we'll go stir crazy.
I agree. And also the mental part of saying, okay, for example, myself and my household, at least as of this moment, none of us are actually quarantined. Okay. So I also want to support local businesses. My husband loves to cook, but I said, look, you're going to do a bunch of your cooking, and also let's order out once or twice as we're able to over the weekend to support the local restaurants that are still providing takeout. And yesterday we had to get something done at my office. And so we got that done, and then we ordered and picked up these yummy salads that we love from a place around here called Starbird, and which everything's sourced. Yeah, and that was great. And then we found a bench. It was an outdoor bench that there was nobody around. We were not near any other people the entire time that we sat there, getting some sunshine, eating our salads, and then getting back in the car and and finishing what we had to do. So
I love that. And speaking about cars, only because I've thought about this in a very odd way, make sure to have your hand sanitizer stuff to wipe down your steering wheel and all that part. It's just one of those odd places that you're coming and going, you're bringing things, you're bringing groceries, just so, wipe down if you can remember to do it, or just like, I have those little Costco ones that I have in my purse. I'm like, well, I'll just have them in my purse. And your phones, that's the one thing to sanitize a lot, is get your phone sanitized. I just saw a thing yesterday, which was you can do soap and water, or you can do an alcohol wipe,
yeah.
or you can do one of the disinfectants ones. So that's all okay for your phone.
Okay, good. That's good. That's really good to know.
That's because I'm home all the time. I do those things.
Yeah.
I wipe down my phone all the time, just as a thing, because I'm constantly talking to people. I'm like, I gotta clean this phone. But you don't think about it the same way when you work all day, where there's other phones or other, instruments.
Indeed. That is so great. I just realized that we've covered so much goodness and good ideas and suggestions, and not just staying sane, but also practical tips for everybody, that I'm gonna write a blog out of this. I will put the information in writing for people who prefer to scan a list rather than listen to a whole video. All right, so
Perfect.
I think this is perfect timing. I think we can kind of wrap up this one for right now. Anything else that you can think of? So staying sane, working from home, a lot of
Drink your water and have your prepared vegetables, have your prepared fruit, get those fruits and veggies in you, and old exercise things, 5 side bends, 20 push-ups, sit-ups. It's gonna help just the mental always being at home vibe, especially because you guys, I love that you found a bench. Like, clearly that was safe and healthy.
Yeah, and then of course washing hands for 20 seconds and not touching our face. That's kind of super critical. Like, get back in the car, like, okay, don't touch your face, don't touch your face. Really, really concentrating.
I know one thing I want to say that I'm sure you have 100 things to say about, but remember to take your vitamin D.
Absolutely. You bet. I talk about that all the time.
All the time, right? Your vitamin D is the number one. You tell me this all the time, and I notice when I don't take it, especially because, I don't have as much sun here, and no one's going to be getting enough sun. I don't know what your recommendation would be for kids, but it's definitely important to remember that one.
Yeah, that's a challenge. That's a big challenge. And our conversation now is really to support the adults in the household. Lots of resources out there to, like what we were saying, entertain the kids. And they also have their schoolwork. One mom friend said, I think my kid's getting assigned more schoolwork than normal. And I thought to myself, oh, that's a good idea.
Well, they have to do what the instruction in the class would be, right? Plus the homework.
Right. Plus, yeah, exactly. So, all right. Wonderful.
I love it.
Well, thank
you for inviting me to do this.
You're
And
so
I really enjoyed this.
You're very, very welcome. Get ready, because we'll do more. We talk about relationships and men and women and sex and libido and menopause and hormones. You and I are constantly talking about all those sorts of topics. So we'll just leave that as a little teaser for future.
Next time. So I love that. So thank you for having me.
Okay, you're very welcome. Mwah.
See you soon. Bye.